I am so excited to be making this video. I've been watching all kinds of videos on this and loads of tutorials on how to make willow tree cuttings. It's always been my vision and dream to be able to create a miniature weeping willow tree, a standard variety that comes up in a pot, and then the weeping leaves come straight out. So it's almost like a standard size, but a dwarf variety. Now, I have a very large willow tree in my garden at home. So I thought, why not just use some cuttings from that tree? So in front of me, I've got a variety of different size cuttings, and we're going to see, this is going to be an experiment now over the next 3, 6, maybe 9 weeks, just to see exactly how they take and if this even works. I've got various sizes. I'm going to see which one does best. So this is day one. I've taken the cuttings. As you can see in front of me, I have a variety of different sizes, from skinny little pieces, very small. I've got the shorter ones. They're all quite long because I do want them to grow quite big in the pot. I've got a 1/2 inch thick, maybe 3/4 of an inch thick. And then I've got the big bad boy. This is the main one. I really hope this takes. And if I've been doing my homework right, and if it's all true, the bigger the surface area, the bigger the chance of it rooting. Now, I know the bigger the cutting, usually that's got more risk of it failing, but with a willow is really easy, apparently. So we're going to really get into this. We're going to try it out. And as I say, hopefully this video will go right through the whole journey from start to finish. So day one. Now, in front of me is just a bucket of water, or a pot of water that's filled nearly to the top. Hopefully you can see that. And all you've got to do is place these cuttings into the water. Now, the one thing you've got to make sure that you remember is which way round these cuttings go. You know, they grow a certain way. So they've got a root at the bottom and then sprout at the top. Now, 2 ways to do it. You can either look at the buds. If the buds is pointing upwards, that's the right way. I've chopped most of these off, so I've actually reduced my chance of knowing which way up it goes. But also another way is it's going to be fatter at the bottom and skinnier at the top. So I do know that this one is the right way around. What I do want to show you in every single one of these cuttings is the same. All the way along, I'm really hoping this focuses, but all the way along here is little tiny nodules. And the reason the willow is so adept at sprouting and taking cuttings and so easy is because each one of these is just ready to become roots. But there's buds all the way along it, just ready. So all I'm going to do now, I'm just going to plop these all in this same tub of water. Again, just making sure I've got them all the right way up. These are easier because I've got little shoots going upwards. All going in nicely. And that is simply it for now. I'm going to put them underneath one of my tables in my polytunnel, and they can now just sit there and hopefully they'll start to root. When they do, we're going to move them onto another pot with some soil so those roots can really start taking in the nutrients, and we're going to keep an eye out for any buds just beginning to form. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cuttings there. I'll come back to you in a couple of weeks when they've rooted, hopefully. Okay, so we're 1 week in, and I think you can already see straight away all these little white, looks like white spores, but these are actually the start of the roots, already the beginning to come out. And every single one of these is the same. Here's the small ones. You just see that there. They are just, in fact, they're quite large, those ones. Let's try a medium one, but they're all the same. These are just literally going to become the roots, and as soon as they become long enough, then I'll be able to plant these into some nice soil, and then they should be able to root. There you go. Look, they're all exactly the same. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to change this water. Apparently you give it fresh water every few days, but I'll be changing it after a week. for the next couple of weeks, and then we'll come back and see what they're looking like then. I am so excited to show you how these have got on. Look what has happened. Another week on, these have exploded. So let me show you. They're all almost at the same state. So we now have the roots. Roots have really come out, and the plants themselves have just started to grow. These are the mini willow trees already. I can't believe this, just how quick and easy this has been. Look at the big one. Again, look how thick that is. Got the roots coming out. We've got all these new shoots. They're going to cascade down just like a weeping willow does. Now I'm going to leave them in this pot for another week, I think, just to let these roots really start to get a bit longer and stronger. They're very brittle at the moment, so I don't want to put them straight into any soil, but I'll probably do a bit of a test first with one of the smaller ones just to see how that takes. The one that I basically submerged completely in water, that has not done much. There's little white marks on it as if it wants to start sprouting, but I think because you don't leave the top out of water, it can't actually then do much. So leave half in the water, half out the water, but it doesn't really matter what size these are. They're all at the same stage, which just goes to show you can pretty much get any size cutting of a willow tree to start to root and then become its new own plant. So let's try again in another week's time. We're another week on, and look at these. Let me show you what's happened. Look at the growth on that. That must be close to 6 inches growth on some of these new little branches, stems, shoots. And then look at the roots. The roots are really starting to form now. They're getting stronger. So the next stage is going to be to pop these up. But let me just show you each one. They're all literally at the same level. The small little skinny ones. Great roots on that one. That's a medium one with extra branches that are left on. They've all sprouted. The really little tiny one. The funny thing is they seem to root just above the bottom. They're all following the same pattern. Here's the big thick one. That's going to be fantastic. That's going to go straight in the soil. That's going to cascade down. I think we're going to have a mini weeping willow by the end of this summer. I really do. The only one that hasn't done anything is the one that's fully submerged in water. So it shows you do need to leave a proportion out of the water. I'm going to leave that in anyway. So I'm going to pop these back in. And then I'm going to pop them up, I think, in a few days, and then let's see if these roots really take. Okay, we're now about 6 weeks on since I first put these in the water. As you can see, look at the amount of growth. This is a weeping willow, so these are going to come down over the sides, but seriously, look at the roots on that. All I'm going to do now, I've got some all different size pots, but seeing as this one's the biggest one, I've got some nice fresh compost in here. Willows aren't fussy. They're not bothered what soil you put them in, what compost, what material. They pretty much grow anywhere, but they don't like to dry. You really, the heavier the soil, so clay soil and that kind of thing that really holds the water, that's the best. I'm going to give these a great big soak, and I've actually got some of these trays underneath it, whether you can see that, meaning that that'll hold the water even better. So I think I'm going to plant it just above where these roots are. Sounds about right, especially seeing as I want these to grow as like standards and mini weeping willow trees. And it's literally going to make a nice big hole in the middle of this pot. Firm it down all around. That's the roots now completely covered. Right, that's now in. Going to do the same for all of these in different size pots, and then I'm going to give them a good water, and then I'm going to come back to you in about another week or so's time for the final result. So let's see how they get on. And here we are, 6 weeks on from when I took these original cuttings. I now have these beautiful, well-established weeping willow trees, miniature versions that I'm sure if I planted them in the ground, they'd become huge, but these are better than I ever imagined they were going to be. So let's take a little closer look. This is my favorite one. Look at this. That is, in all its glory, a true weeping willow tree. When I did my research into this, they said the bigger the cutting, the better. Usually that goes against the rule of thumb because cuttings will lose evaporation, they'll lose water and moisture very quickly. So the bigger the surface area, the quicker they lose it. But not with these, not with willow tree cuttings. They seem to be bigger and better, seems to be working well. So let me just show you them. Okay, so let's just start with the smallest one. So we've got a few shoots coming from the top, a few shoots to the bottom, but not too bad at all. Next to it, we've got this one, which is probably the second smallest. I actually left another little shoot on here, and again, that has produced more foliage. That one's not too bad. Next up from there, again, they're all following the same pattern. That is doing very, very well. Next to it, we're getting a bit bigger now, and this one, just come round this side. As you can see, we've got these shoots coming out all the way along, right up to the very top, and then each shoot itself is now starting to send out even more. So that's going to really bush out from here. But as I say, my favourite one has to be the biggest cutting of all. This one has put on the most foliage. It's become the real weeping variety already. Look at the way these come out. They come out, literally bend, and they're going down. And actually, that goes down. That was in the soil. Yeah, it's already touching the soil. This is what a true weeping willow does. It weeps all the way down and almost creates like a blanket or a curtain down to the soil. I think it possibly tries to then reroot when it touches again, which it may well do. I think I'm going to trim all these and then they'll bush out further. Could even trim them right to the top, then they'll bush out from there. But right now, this is exactly what I wanted to create. These mini, almost standard variety weeping willow trees. Due to how well the big one has done, I decided to take another cutting, again, only 3 to 4 weeks ago. Look at the roots on that already. Masses of roots. Just got this one in the water, haven't planted that up yet, but this one's a really, look at it, really thick one. If I plant that in, that's going to look like a really old tree. And again, it's already sent out all the new shoots. That one will look really well, I think, in a pot by itself. So that one will get potted in soon also. I'll be able to have another weeping willow tree. Right, I think you can tell just by the excitement, the enthusiasm, and how happy I am with how these have turned out. They've been so easy. I literally took a cutting off my big giant weeping willow tree, tried every single different size and shape, stuck them in some water, let them root, put them in a pot, and here we have 6 weeks later, I've managed to grow new baby weeping willow trees. If you've got something from this video, if you want to try your own, I really love the comments, the interaction that you can send back to me. So if you have enjoyed this video, if you've taken something from it, please give us one of those thumbs up, and always, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. So thanks for watching, everyone. Please take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.